Please welcome Esmeralda Iyescas.
Good evening. Thank you for having me speak at the WiCyS conference. So about 3 years ago, I was sitting where you were sitting in the audience watching executives and professionals in the cybersecurity field speak about their experiences and their opportunities. Today, I'm going to share my journey and the lessons I have learned over the last several years. I want you to keep this in mind as I tell the story. So the first was that failure never defined my journey. Next, I embraced curiosity and fear through confidence. I learned the importance of autonomy and how adaptability and my professional experience has helped me shape me to be the individual I am today. So, excuse me. Thank you. So before I dive into the story, I want you to keep in mind this important theme. It was the fact that my journey prevailed over failure. It's the start where I attained my associate's degree. So as I mentioned, I'm Esmeralda, I'm 24, and I'm from Miami. My parents are two immigrants. My father's from Nicaragua, and my mother is from France. I'm an only child, and there was a lot of pressure put on me to succeed and to get an education. Graduating high school was not enough. That's when I started my trajectory in Miami Dade College. I enrolled in computer science, where I began the courses, and there was a prerequisite, chemistry. Though I gave it my best, I did not pass the class. I failed. I had a lot going on. I had a personal injury, and I was not balancing my personal responsibilities with those of the academic. I was truly overwhelmed, and when I was thinking back, I just didn't enjoy the courses, and I didn't enjoy the track. So dropping out was not an option. And I had to pivot. I had to go into computer information systems. And I enjoy this track. And I come into Java programming. Again, I failed because I failed to balance between my personal responsibilities and those of my academic. But the difference here was that I enjoyed the courses that I was taking for computer information systems, so I was determined to retake the course and to pass. I met with my professor, and we created a strategy to increase the probability that I would succeed. The semester rolls around, and I retake the course, I implement what I've practiced with him, and I pass Java. I graduate Miami Dade College, and I have my associate's degree. So I move on to the second half of my undergraduate journey, where I transfer to Florida International University. Go Panthers. So here, I had to navigate fearful challenges with confidence and curiosity. So I started FIU January 2020. We all know what happens in March. It's COVID, we're forced to go home and quarantine. I was watching many of my peers graduate and struggle to find jobs. I also had my father on the side telling me about the articles he would read in the Wall Street Journal, the percentage increase in recent graduates without jobs. It was just very overwhelming, and we know that the pandemic affected how we lived our personal, our professional, and our academic lives. But particularly it affected the hiring process. There was a total hiring freeze. There were layoffs and furloughs. So this antiquated notion that my parents had instilled in me, that higher education meant job security, was no longer true. And I was scared. I was really scared for my future, and I didn't know what was going to happen. So I set myself on a challenge. I set a goal to graduate my undergraduate program with a job secured. So now that I have this challenge, I needed professional experience. I can't apply for a job without some experience. There's an internship. It's FIU that collaborated with the National Science Foundation for a research experience for undergraduate students. I'm in the cybersecurity lab. I'm one of 3 women in a room of about 10 to 15 men. I hate to have to recall this, to have experienced it, and to have to admit it to you today, but personally, I had felt a little indifferent and a performance expectation and treatment difference between my male counterparts. This resulted in my project being a little bit less challenging and one that I could not claim on my own. I know that there was no intentional malice with that, and I tried not to take it personally, but I'd be lying to you if I said that it didn't affect my morale, that it didn't make me sad, and it didn't make me question myself. It raised the imposter syndrome that already lived within me, and it made me create a lot of self-doubt within my capabilities. I decided to stay in the sidelines, in the shadows. But then I remembered that someone believed in me, they accepted me for the program, and they saw the capabilities. Therefore, it was time that I do the same for myself. So I took the initiative. I just began researching. I didn't ask for permission, and I just did what was entailed of the internship. It was a success. I was able to create a novel solution for a graduate student's problem. And though looking back, it was challenging, I wouldn't have changed anything about it, because the unintentional challenge that came from this was that it was able to bolster my confidence. I was able to showcase my skill sets and create trust within myself. So the internship had ended, and now it's time for me to apply for jobs. But I didn't know really where to start. And again, we're still in the pandemic. Luckily, the WiCyS conference had resumed, and it was about to start. I had flown out from Miami to Denver, and once I had arrived at the WiCyS conference, at some point throughout it, I heard the CISO of Collins Aerospace give a talk. She was extremely vulnerable with her audience. She was sharing the importance of asking for what you want and the struggles that she faces in her daily life, and as well with the changes of COVID. The content that she was sharing was relatable. It impacted me, and it was something that I was truly inspired by. I thought to myself, I want to work where she works. I want to do what she does. And I had applied for RTX. So I came back from the conference, and I'm in Miami. A couple weeks passed by, and the WiCyS conference had opened up 3 major job offers and opportunities for me. One was for the government agency, one was for a reputed bank, and one was for RTX. I had to evaluate these job offers because I couldn't just make a decision on the fly, and I had to take into consideration that I had recently turned 21. I had no real commitments, not to Miami, not to anyone in Miami, and I was kind of lost. I didn't know what I liked and what I disliked, or any of my career values. So I'm gonna walk you through the job process and evaluation that I did when I was doing it for myself. The first we can take is the government agency. It was a great opportunity. It was a role within IT that would have allowed me to enter the public sector, the public sector with technical and classified information. But there was an issue. I have a dual citizenship, and that was not something that I was willing to renounce. Therefore, I had to pass on the offer. Next, we had the bank. The bank was a wonderful opportunity as well. Very competitive pay. Very competitive. It was also in New York City, Coming from Miami, I've always wanted to live there. I actually had applied only to colleges in New York after high school, and my parents told me no. But there was an issue again. I had to ask myself truly, did I want to commit the start of my career to software development? I had a friend at the time tell me, if it's not an absolute yes, it's an absolute no. And since I couldn't answer my own question with an absolute yes, I had to pass. Now I have the offer of RTX. It's for a spot in their DLDP, their Digital Leadership Development Program. Here, many companies offer leadership development programs, but the way that RTX structures theirs goes as followed. There's various disciplines that one can choose from, but depending on the discipline that's chosen, there's a number of rotations, and the length of time of the rotations will differ. So for example, I chose the Digital Leadership Development Program. It's 2 years, 3 rotations, and they're 8 months long. When I was looking back and being honest with myself and the things that I wanted, I realized that this was a very attractive program. It would allow me to kind of figure out what the things I like and the things that I don't like about the digital technology and the sector, to figure out what my career values and my motivations are. And honestly, I had to just follow my gut feeling. It was telling me that it was the perfect role for me. So I just proceeded and I accepted the offer with RTX. I would begin this in June of 2022. December 2021 rolls around and I graduate FIU. And I was able to say that I successfully accomplished my goal. So now I'm in this completely new chapter in my life where I learn autonomy. I'm not quite a student and I'm not quite a professional either. And I had some time to just spend. So being that I recently graduated FIU, I found that there was an opportunity in their psychological counseling center. It was to be a front desk employee. It was fun, it was simple, but there were times where I had to make some very critical and important decisions, and it was a very fast-paced environment. Here, I quickly learned that I was no longer a student. I was an employee. And with the decisions that I had to make and I couldn't consult for, came a lot of independence, accountability, and responsibility. I could no longer hide between the shelteredness of academia. I had to let go of the mental crutches and stand on my own as a professional. Guidance is another thing that presented itself very differently in the professional space versus academia. And the major lesson that I take with me over to RTX, and even I still use it today, was the intersection between guidance and autonomy. So I finished this role at FIU, and now it was time for me to begin at RTX. I begin my first rotation, and I'm working at Raytheon Intelligence and Space. There's something funny happening. I'm not feeling confident. I didn't realize that having worked at FIU, I was still within my comfort zone. I was still within my safety net. I knew all the colleagues, I knew all the peers, I knew the campus. It was easy. But RTX was completely new. I was leaving my comfort zone. It was terrifying. Those emotions that I had felt back in my internship, I was starting to feel them again. The imposter syndrome was coming back, as well as the self-doubt, the moments of fear and excitement, but mostly the nervousness. Luckily, my first rotation manager, he ended up unintentionally becoming my mentor. He encouraged me to ask questions, to attend social networking events within RTX, and to just broaden my network. He also encouraged me to set goals and to ask for feedback. And through this, I was able to track my progress. I was able to embrace the changes of the DLDP and absorb all the opportunities that came within the organization. I'm very grateful for that rotational manager because he allowed me to gain a lot of confidence for myself, and he reinforced the trust that I had been working over all these years. So these were the building blocks and the foundation that I take with me over the next 2 years. I had to transition after the 8 months from my first rotation to the second rotation. And here, again, the same thing I had felt when I was transitioning from FIU to RTX, I had built a comfort with him and with the role. And now I was leaving that comfort zone. I understood when I had signed up that there was going to be a lot of new changes every 8 months, but I don't think I mentally grasped that and how the experience came with its own set of challenges. So for context, I was now starting in a new business unit, in a new role, with a new team, under a new leadership in a new discipline of digital technologies. That's a lot of new to just adapt to so quickly. After the 8 months, it ended up being one of my most challenging rotations, but it was the one that I was the most grateful for. It showed me all the various types of roles that exist within the digital space and all the opportunities that lie for me and other young women. The other thing that it taught me, which made me extremely grateful for the experience, was it taught me about myself. It taught me about my character, about my preferred style of leadership, how I react to sudden changes, the things that I value, the things that I don't value in a role, and most importantly, how I wanted to move forward with my career. So I had to move from the second rotation over to the third. But now I had more confidence. I had done it a couple times. And I am now rearing towards the end where I would graduate in June. And I find myself in a similar position. I find myself in a position where when I was at FIU looking for a job, I'm now looking towards the next chapter of my life. And I am no longer in my early 20s. I'm now in my mid-20s. And with all the experiences, the opportunities, and the learning moments that I've been able to experience, I realize that I have grown. But with growth comes change, and I have changed in my values, in my motivations, and my interests, personally and professionally. I'm very grateful for the last 2 years that I've had at RTX because I know the path that I want to go into and how I want to move forward with my career. I know that I have trust within myself. I have trust and confidence within the people around me that I can overcome any obstacle. So like the full circle moment that I'm facing right now, I know life is filled with other full circle moments. Moments where I will be challenged and there will be situations that will be very similar to the things that I've faced in the past. But I will address them as a new and improved version of myself. Thank you. I am forever growing and forever changing. And I know that these learning moments that I'm experiencing are going to be constantly revisited. So there's no point in fearing it. It's just about embracing it. I know it's cliche. I know you've heard it 1,000 times within this speech, and you're probably going to hear it over the course of your own life. But it's that failure never defines your journey. It never defined mine. And though it's very easy to get distracted with the many things that happen in life and the many things that are going on within the world, the most imperative thing that I learned was to keep the focus on myself, to always be looking within. Embracing these uncomfortable and sometimes very seemingly terrifying moments and opportunities, just like this one, ended up being the most rewarding. The confidence that I have gained and the trust that I have gained for myself has resulted in earning the respect and trust in the people around me. So now, I leave you with this challenge. I challenge you to reframe your setbacks as an opportunity for growth. I challenge you to take one step forward, especially during the face of adversity. I challenge you to reflect upon your journey, your identity, and one area in your life where you can change your mindset from failure to growth. So now together, we can redefine success by embracing resilience. And if you take back anything from what I've said today, take back this. Failure is not the end, but it's merely just one chapter in our ongoing journey towards greatness. Thank you. I do want to give a quick thank you to Alexandra, who invited me here tonight. I'm very honored to speak. I thank Brittany as well for being my guidance and my support system. I thank the whole RTX team who's here tonight and the people who are not as well. I thank all the WiCyS coordinators, and I thank you guys for having me. I also thank my family and friends for having listened to this speech 1,000 times and the feedback that they gave me. So again, I'm very honored to have spoken to you tonight, and I thank you.